You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this. Welcome to the show, everybody. Rachel.
Kirk.
I've got a question for you.
Ooh, I love questions.
Maybe a weird way to start the show. So,
okay.
How do you feel about smells?
Okay. It depends on the smell.
Sure. I guess it is a weird question. I feel like some people are like into smells and some people tend to avoid them. Are you more of a smell-seeking person or a smell-avoiding person?
That's a good question. Now I'm really thinking about it. I feel like I tend to avoid smells more than I seek them out. Like if it's bread or something like that, or like something like smells so great, like really good food, especially, you're gonna find me next to it. I'm gonna find that scent. But I feel like I just encounter so many different smells all the time. I don't.
In our line of work, you do encounter a few smells. You get to work with a fox, so you definitely encounter some interesting smells.
Yeah, there is that too.
For me, I feel like I tend to avoid a lot of smells. I'm a bit of a smell avoider as well. I think like the perfume aisle or a scented candle store is pretty much my definition of hell.
I like a good scented candle, but like perfume stores get me. I can't go through that section of Macy's. It's too much.
Right. Like when I was growing up, my mom would wear perfume a lot. And this is not a knock on her, but like when I would go into the bathroom after, like, or I had a question because they were getting ready, we're going out or something, like I literally could not breathe in that room because the smell was so strong. And she'd be like, what are you talking about? But like it had that kind of effect on me. Okay. And that's the same, as you mentioned, going through like a perfume department in a department store was and is an overwhelming experience that I just avoid. And I said a scented candle store is like a kick in the face. It's not enjoyable. I'm not a fan. Now, that being said, much like you, there are smells that I enjoy. You mentioned bread.
Oh, bread
we do
amazing.
Have like an essential oil diffuser at home. And there's a few smells I like to put in there, like eucalyptus. I really enjoy that. I do enjoy the smell of certain foods. Like you mentioned bread, but also like a fresh baking pizza or chocolate chip cookies in the oven.
Bacon.
Absolute delight. Bacon, garlic bread in the oven.
Garlic in general.
Right? Yeah. So it isn't just that, though, that I like all necessary food smells and don't like other smells, because fish cooking and broccoli cooking are absolutely revolting to me. And those are foods, so go figure. Although I don't like either of those foods either.
Yeah,
so
you don't like them either. Anyway.
So humans are naturally attracted to probably the smells of foods they like. But we also have a whole thing where we use smells to try to make ourselves smell different. Right?
Okay.
So I'm thinking about like perfumes and colognes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll put on a perfume every once in a while. Not often.
Okay, all right. Well, this is something that goes, and I've got like a couple of bottles of cologne I've had for like 20 years.
They're like so subtle. Yeah.
But this, if you think about like perfume, for example, I looked up actually a number here because I want to know like how big of an industry is perfume. And according to Fortune Business Insights, the perfume industry globally in 2023 is estimated to have a market value of $48 billion.
Oh my God. Oh, okay.
We really, really like to make ourselves smelly.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of reasons why. Okay, we might be doing it to attract a mate, but we also might just be doing it to feel better about ourselves. Because we just like how it smells, or we are trying to cover up an odor, or we like to show off how rich we are, because some smells are very, very expensive and you can only have them if you're rich. So this isn't a new thing. There are records of ancient Egyptians and Mesopotamians making perfume 5,000 years ago. So that's
Ooh.
often kind of cited as the start of perfume, but I'm kind of like, well, maybe that's when perfume started per se, but
We've been
that
doing
may not
smell
be.
longer.
Yeah, I can imagine humans have been like rubbing good smelling things on themselves for a whole lot longer than 5,000 years, right? Probably since as
Mm-hmm.
long as there have been humans, they've been like, ooh, this is nice. And I'm going to have some of this plant around my neck, or I'm going to rub it on
Mm-hmm.
me because it smells nice, right?
Right.
Well,
Hang
this
these
week,
flowers around my neck. Yeah.
exactly. And this week, there's one particular smell that humans like to put on themselves, and I want to talk about it. And that's the smell of musk.
Okay.
So I need to point out right out of the chute that musk is not one smell. It's actually a
Right.
group of smells. And
Okay.
there's a number of animals and plants that have a musky smell. And while the specific like chemicals involved are structurally pretty different, um,
Mm-hmm.
us humans, we love to put things in little boxes and group them up. So we call all of these slightly different smells musks. But the OG musk is
Uh-huh.
from the musk deer. And these deer
Okay.
live in the mountains of Southeast Asia. So basically, picture like the Himalayas. They
Mm-hmm.
closely resemble another animal that we've talked about on the show, the Chinese water deer. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Is it the ones with the fangs, right? I think I talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
They're the
talked
ones
about
that
that one.
sometimes called
Vampire
vampire
deer.
deer. Yeah, they have these enlarged canines that stick down past their gums on each side and gives them a vampire fang appearance. Well, the musk deer also have these pseudofangs that hang down the side of their face. So they look
Nice.
very much like a Chinese water deer if you've seen those. There's actually 7 different species of musk deer, but from what I could gather, they all kind of look pretty similar.
Okay.
So they're named after a gland that is found under the skin of males. And the smell it gives off is used to attract a mate. And
Mm-hmm.
traditionally, what would happen is the deer were trapped and killed, and the gland was cut out and then dried. And the smell, Rachel, is super potent.
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw one source that described it as sharp, repulsive, fatty, animalic, with notes of urine.
Oh,
Yeah, like
gross.
okay, but you have to take it and it's dried in the sun,
Uh-huh.
and then it's kind of there's like this granular stuff inside which is taken and it's mixed with ethanol, and when it's diluted quite highly, it has a very pleasant smell that has been highly prized for centuries.
Right.
Now, I do have to
That's
say,
wild. How did they figure that out?
well, right? I mean, I guess a little bit goes a long way. There's a lot of things like
Yeah.
that if you smell them intensely, it's overpowering, but just a little hint of it is like, ooh, it's quite nice because
Huh.
it's so pungent. To this day, I mean, if you have too much of it, you're like, oh, that's awful, but a little bit is quite nice. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I will say the word musk actually comes from a Sanskrit word that means, get ready, testicle, because
Of course we're
course it
here.
does,
Of
right?
course it does.
Apparently, the dried gland has a, let's just say, familiar look to it.
Of course it
And
does.
the fact that the deer use it to attract a mate, and the gland looks vaguely testicular, has led to the rumor that the smell of musk is a potent aphrodisiac,
Of course.
which also probably added to the value and the mystique around it.
Mm-hmm.
The musk smell is used widely today, perhaps because of that association, from the past,
Mm-hmm.
but also because the market has shown that people just really like this smell. I mean, they really like it.
Mm-hmm.
Musk makes up the base note of most, if not almost all perfumes on the market. Even ones that you don't think is like a manly, musky, kind of smelling perfume.
Yeah.
Like almost all of them have it in there. It usually makes up somewhere between 15 and 30% of the base note or base smell of most perfumes on the market. Like that's just
Whoa.
what they start with because
Okay.
it's super popular. Now, the
All
real
right.
deal musk from the musk deer is difficult to harvest and traditionally very expensive. And
Yeah.
musk was once associated with royalty and the super wealthy because it was hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
Today, it's actually harder to say how much musk glands are worth because musk deer are now critically endangered, and it
You
is
don't
definitely
say.
illegal to slaughter them for their musk gland. One source I did see indicated a value perhaps as high as $45,000 per kilogram for genuine
Oh.
musk glands, which would be like the most expensive source of the musk
Mm-hmm.
smell you could get. So, but I do not know if that number is accurate. I'm not active in the black market, so take that for what you will.
Proud of you, Kirk.
Yeah. I'd be proud of something. So there are other sources of musky smells. A similar smell
Mm-hmm.
can come from the anal glands of beavers.
Oh, yep. I've used this in class. The castor
from
gland.
ambergris.
Mm-hmm.
And ambergris comes from sperm whales, which is such an incredibly bizarre topic. I'm going to put it down right now on my list to do a
Right.
whole show on that. So
We-
I'm not
we
going to get on that
sh- oh.
wormhole.
All right, I will
And
make sure that it's
also-
not on my list because I forgot about ambergris, even though it's absolutely wild. Oh,
Yeah. Also, apparently, I learned something I regret this week, that a musky smell also comes from the anal secretions of civet cats that are kept in cages and basically like scared into making this smell, which is just stop
that's
that.
so
Stop.
sad. Why?
Guys, the perfume business is really weird. So all
Yeah.
of these are problematic. There's also, I will say, there are also some plants that can make this smell. The
Mhm.
problem is they're take a lot of them to process, and it's rare, and so that is also very expensive to make it out of some of these natural plant sources. So naturally, you might not be surprised to learn that we have developed synthetic musk smells. And in fact, the development of these
Nice.
synthetic musk smells are partially why musk smells are so prevalent in the marketplace now, because we can make it very cheaply. And starting in like the 1990s, musk
Nice.
perfumes and stuff just exploded, like to the point that now that's like dominant, where maybe it wasn't as much in the past because it was so expensive.
Okay.
So that seems like really awesome, right, Rachel?
I want to say yes, but your face and tone say no. Oh, no.
Turns out some of these, the most popular and widely used synthetic musk smells are carcinogenic. They're basically estrogen mimics, and they can be carcinogenic. And then also, turns out they're really stable molecules, and so they bioaccumulate in human tissue. Many of the chemical substances are currently being banned in countries around the world due to health concerns. Half of our listeners are in the US. So those of you who are, take note. The dangerous synthetic musks that have been shown to bioaccumulate in our system, they're still perfectly legal to use here. Yeah, isn't that great? I know we have a lot of Australian listeners too. You're in the same boat, my friends. They are legal there as well, while they're being banned in other countries. So you're thinking, that's cool. That's cool. I don't use cologne. I don't use perfume. I'm good.
It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, these same artificial musk compounds are also used in basically anything that smells. Air fresheners, detergents, deodorants, and they're really stable, like I said, so they stick around in the environment. So that's really like awesome. Like I said, that bottle of cologne I've had for like 20 years in the cabinet still smells kind of the same as it did the day I bought it, because it's really stable. But that's not great to have really stable chemicals like that in the environment. There's actually a study in Germany that took fat samples from humans and found synthetic musk present in 100% of the samples. Synthetic musk has also been found in human breast milk, in blood, placental tissue, and neonatal umbilical cords. So it's kind of everywhere right now, which isn't great.
No.
And we may very likely be killing ourselves just to smell like the dried scent gland of a Himalayan deer.
Kirk,
you guys,
this topic makes me...
are weird.
We're very
Humans
weird.
are weird, you guys. I guess I was talking about like musk glands this week and musk deer because they're strange. You know what's actually stranger?
Humans.
We are.
Kirk, this makes me want to just like
weirdos,
lay
right?
down for a while.
Yeah, it's real weird. So I gotta say, I'm not really sure where to leave this one. It certainly didn't go where I expected when I started learning about musk odors. I was like, oh, it's been cool. We're talking about deer. And all of a sudden it was like, wah, wah. But it's certainly interesting and strange.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't really
So bizarre.
make me want to go apply cologne at the moment. But it's certainly interesting to learn a bit about humans and like how the lengths we'll go to get certain smells on our bodies.
Yeah.
So that's what I have for you this week. I will say, aside from the specific, sources I mentioned in the actual story, I also got some of my little numbers and stuff from Wikipedia this week.
Awesome.
But that's what I got, Rachel. You want to take a little break and go put some perfume
Kirk?
on?
No, I don't want to put on perfume ever again now. Thanks.
Oh, do you have deodorant on?
Yeah, I do.
Did you wash that shirt in scented laundry detergent?
Trying to think if I did or not. I tended to use unscented when I can, but it's already in my, system, I'm sure. So,
well, glad to have you
Yay.
sticking around a little bit longer. Hope you'll all stick around. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll have a cheerful story from Rachel.
Yes.
Sounded like a question mark after that. Let's find out.
Welcome back, everyone. So, I don't know how, cheerful of a topic it is, but it can be.
Okay.
This is a positive thing, I would think. So, a few weeks ago, you and I, Kirk, we were at our local state professional conference, which
Yeah,
is
we
pretty
sure were.
much...
I was mentioning it in my last week.
Yeah, you did. Which I thought was really funny, knowing what my topic was this week.
Okay.
So pretty much those conferences are a space for a bunch of folks like Kirk, Victoria, and I to share knowledge and best practices and such within our field as professional naturalists. It's
Right.
also just a space where all of us just nerd out so hard over different topics, getting
This
to
is so
dive
true.
deeper
Yeah.
than we do with kids or the public, especially since a lot of the times we get experts at the conference who get to share their knowledge with us on
That's my
whatever
favorite
their
part.
topic is. It's so fun. I love it. Oh, it's great. So, first of all, if you were at that particular conference, I know quite a few of our listeners are also at that conference. Hi.
Hold on.
I waved like this is not an audio
They
format.
can't.
Anyway,
They can't see you, Rachel. They can't
They
see
can't.
you. That's okay.
They can't.
They
So
can hear the wave in your voice, I guess.
might as well. So one of the workshops I was at actually mentioned something super fascinating. And Kirk, I actually told this little fun fact to you and to our friend of the show, Brett, as we were walking while we were at the conference. But
Okay.
it stuck in my brain and I had to go looking deeper.
Ooh, what was it?
You're going to find out. So on this...
Keep me in suspense. Come on.
Yeah, I am going to keep you in suspense. So on the show...
There's an order these stories need to unfold, and I'm messing with it. I'm sorry.
No. So on the podcast, we've talked about both dragonflies and cicadas here. But something has
Correct.
come up more recently in research that we haven't actually discussed when those topics came up. And it's wild. Oh, Kirk,
This
I
is
see
starting to ring a bell.
I see
the
the
gears
aha.
are very slowly turning. Rachel told me a story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost there.
Yeah. So to put it simply, dragonfly and cicada wings have the ability to physically pull apart bacteria.
What, Rachel?
Yeah. So why do we
Physically-
care, right? They're
Yeah,
physically
tell
able
us
to
more.
pull it out.
This is so
Yes.
weird.
It's so weird. So this is the only known purely physical structure that we've been able to find that actually naturally occurs to kill bacteria. Everything else uses some sort of chemical or
Physical
anything like this. This is
structure,
a
yeah,
physical
okay.
structure.
Structural destruction. This is a tongue twister. Structural destruction. Structural That word doesn't sound right anymore. Structural destruction of bacteria. Say that 3 times fast.
Absolutely not.
Okay, moving on.
So how they do this. So on the veined wings of like a dragonfly or a cicada, anything in like the locust family that have those really thin vein wings.
Okay.
When you look at those wings microscopically, there are structures known as nanopillars. And pretty much they're like nano, well, obviously, so really, really tiny spikes that are lifted up that are like sized to bacteria. So what happens, so what happens is and I was looking at pictures, and the imagery that I saw, it looked a lot to me like a shag carpet, which is wild. So like that image kind of might help a little bit. There's like some
broken crayons stuck in there somewhere, and some
or like
missing popcorn kernels, and
yeah. So like that imagery seemed to help me a little bit at least.
Okay, I got it.
So what happens is when a bacteria lands on a wing, the membrane of these nanopillars actually sticks to the bacteria. And if the membrane of that bacteria is actually relatively soft, it's not a rigid bacteria cell wall or membrane, it sticks and then it sinks into the crevices between all of the nanopillars. And as it sinks, it's stretching the membrane of the bacteria. And as it like stretches, eventually it keeps stretching and stretching as this bacteria settles further and further into this membrane, and eventually it ruptures the bacteria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know what the mechanism is that's causing it to get pulled down? Because like at that scale, I can't imagine gravity even is a force that makes any difference. Like
I think like I don't.
It's weird,
I'm
right?
gonna be honest. I don't think that's something they've really looked into either. It's part of it is just like the structure. Like there's enough space between the nanopillars that when it sets down, kind of like a maybe like a nail bed, or like, you know, those really fun like pin. There was like a pin game that you would have. Like it was layers and layers of pins that you would stick your hand up into.
Rachel,
yeah,
come on.
I know
Of course I have. Of course I have one of those.
Absolutely. But
I'm that kind of guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, those I can picture that, but yeah, I'm just wondering what that force is. If anyone listening knows, like what the
This is pretty recent research too.
This is why something like the conference we go to is so fun, because people get really nerdy on these questions of like, yeah, but why? Like, why does that happen? Because it's not necessarily, especially if it's happening on the underside of the wing. It's not gravity doing that. Is it like surface tension? Is it some other force? I know at those small scales for insects and stuff, I think flies can like walk on the ceiling, and some of the other forces are so much stronger than gravity at that scale that gravity might as well just it's
not exist, almost, right?
You know?
I think so. From what I was reading, I think the surface of the nanopillars is like a attractant of sorts. It sticks. The bacteria does stick to it. So like if you're sticking to it and you're sinking a little bit, you're gonna stick more and more and more as you go.
Keep on, I mean, like you said, it's something about the physical structure. It's just so fascinating. And do we think this is intentional, or is this just I mean, everything's, things that work stick around, but like, is this a fluke? I can't imagine it is. It's like an antibacterial surface. It's pretty useful if you're an animal.
Oh yeah, and I mean, those insects absolutely get, like they get diseases and can get sick and everything too. It's wild to me because it's just the wings. It's not like their whole body. It's just the wing.
Yeah, but that's such an evolutionary kind of thing. It's like just because you maybe could do something doesn't mean it's going to happen. Or like even just because, I guess I should say it not that way. Just because something might be advantageous doesn't mean you necessarily have your DNA can be physically changed to make that happen. right? Like it'd be
Right.
awesome if humans had this, but if our DNA isn't able to make structures like that, then like tough, it's not going to happen. So if their
Right.
body, like just the
Can't
material
do
that's made
that.
out of stuff can't do that, then
Mm-hmm.
tough. It'd be really cool if it could, but
Yeah.
different deal,
Mm-hmm. So it's
Evolution doesn't always do what we
definitely
want it to do.
it's definitely something that's still being researched. Like this was discovered 10 years ago. So it's still relatively
That's
like
nothing. Yeah.
that's nothing. So we don't know a ton on that side of things. But Kirk, I'm glad you brought up like evolution and things because besides all of that fascinating info is scientists have actually made a breakthrough fairly recently.
Ooh, what is it?
So much of human invention is based on or inspired by nature. We've talked about mimicry in the past here on the podcast, but like it happens with human invention in the first place too. Like the structure of fighters and fighter planes their shape is very similar to those of swallows and swifts, which are types of birds. Chainmail replicates the scales of reptiles. We can go on and on.
Bullet train is based on kingfishers' bills, like so much stuff.
Yeah, we can go on and on about examples where we have taken invention with inspiration from
and we probably
nature.
will.
We will continue, absolutely. So scientists at the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology have developed a nanotexture based on these nanopillars of dragonfly and cicada wings. And they've actually finally been able to transfer it to plastic.
That was one of my first thoughts was like, man, if we could find a way, because we have some of these surfaces like microban. You saw more and more of these during the pandemic of like, I know my grocery store was bragging like, oh, our new conveyor belts are this antibacterial conveyor belt, you know. And there's some of these new surfaces out there. So I was thinking, oh man, if someone could add this to some of those surfaces, that could be such a great, way to keep, countertops in hospitals, medical tools, these things we want to keep it off of. So that's way to go, Australia.
Right? Oh, there's more. So the texture that they came up with when they were using like silicone and things like that, they were finally able to transfer it to plastic and retain the effectiveness. The texture itself is able to kill up to 70% of bacteria that touches it, which is pretty good for physically tearing apart bacteria.
Right?
The
someone
idea,
says, hey, I can get rid of 70% of the bacteria on, this door handle. I'd be like,
right?
Great.
This
it's
sounds
better than nothing,
great,
man.
Right?
Go for it.
So the idea
that's my number one use case. Door handles.
Door handles.
Bathroom
oh my gosh.
Door. First of all, a little rant here. Bathrooms should not have handles. Okay? There should be no need to touch a door going into or out of a bathroom. That is disgusting.
Okay.
I don't want to ever touch anything. Like,
yeah, I don't either.
During the pandemic, one of my greatest things during the pandemic is I don't know if this would have happened otherwise. I requested, I said, they have these little plates you can put on the door to a bathroom.
Oh,
you can
yeah,
open
for
the
the
door with your foot. And I requested those, and we got one at work now.
It's the
I don't have
best.
to touch that door that the children are touching every day if they go in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, friends, I'm happy about that.
It's really nice, yeah. Okay, so circling back, the idea behind this evolution or this revolution that's happening is to use this texture for food products, like the plastics on food products, because a lot of food waste happens because of bacteria. So
oh, sure. Yeah.
And this would actually help improve food lifespan as well when it gets to and from like when it comes for transporting and everything.
Yeah, without having to use chemicals and
exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
And now that this texture has been created and we now have the ability to transfer it into plastics, because they've been working on this for 10 years since the insect wing was figured out that it was able to do this.
Yeah.
They've been working on this for 10 years, but they'd been hitting roadblock after roadblock because we just didn't have the technology to be able to transfer it in the first place.
Right.
So now that it's there, they're looking into how else it can be used, like for PPE, so personal protective equipment, or even things that are huge disease vectors, like bathroom door handles or the railings on buses. This truly is just paving the way into how we treat and deal with bacteria, because if we are able to kill the bacteria in a physical way, that takes a lot of chemicals and things off the plate. Like, we don't have to rely so heavily on chemicals, which also helps prevent things like superbugs from being a thing in the first place.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. That's amazing.
Awesome. It's so cool. All of this research that was about the transference of this nanotexture into plastic, that was published in March 2022.
Okay.
So
cool.
Just over a year ago from here. And so my sources this week, because that's all I have for you, is just amazing, were the...
That's enough, yep.
That's enough. We got an upper from Kirk's, cancer. So my sources this week are nanopillar polymer films as antibacterial packaging materials by Denver P. Linklater et al., which was published in, like I said, March 2022. And, March 2022. And it was in Applied Nanomaterials was where it was published. I also had a great article at phys.org by RMIT University. And I also used RMIT University as a source, which was part of the team that led this research in the first place. So that's what I got for you this week.
That is very cool, Rachel. Very, very
so
cool.
Fun.
What a just breadth of
science discovery this week.
Yeah, just we went all the way from the glands of a musk deer to the wings of a dragonfly and back. It's a wild adventure. It's why I love doing this, is to learn about all these amazing, weird things and wonderful things in our world.
Same, Kirk. And it's always a pleasure to find out more fun facts I can throw at everyone around me.
Indeed. And you know what? You know who's going to be back next week with us?
Victoria!
Yeah, and I'm sure she has been just, coming up with all kinds of fun ideas to bring to the table. So if you're a big fan of Victoria, and let's be honest, who's not, she'll be back next week with to join us for yet another episode.
Yeah. Until next week, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.